For this evening, Monday, May 13th, to order. Please turn off your cell phones or place them on silence. Please join me in a moment of silence. Please rise, join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Clark.
Here.
Reed. Here. Brown.
Here.
Lawler.
Here.
Spicer. Williamson.
Here.
And Mayor Atchison.
Here. May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Are there any proposed additions, deletions, or changes to the agenda? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Yes.
Aye. Okay, agenda is approved. Public comments. Those wishing to make public comments, please come forward. State your name and address for the record. Ask that everyone avoid using coarse language or cursing. Do not make any personal attacks. Please direct your comments to the chair of the council, and ask the folks in the gallery to remain silent while people are having their time for public statement. Those wishing to comment on the agenda items, please step forward.
My name is David Warnsley. I stay at 1210 Maple Street, Albion, Michigan. I'm a pastor, associate pastor. Lived here for a little over a year. I think it's ironic that we started with a moment of silence, because that seems to be what has happened over the months, is silence. I think it's ironic that we talked about the Pledge of Allegiance, because it seems like somewhere that's been missed, and from what I'm seeing. I'm just curious on how long or why it took as long for this to come to the public. The thing that disturbs me the most is that the police and government are here to protect the people, but for some reason that hasn't happened. The citizens are concerned over something that has been a national tragedy for so long, and the thing that we don't want is the same narrative where people come and they get angry and then it gets pushed under the rug. The thing I thank God for is that not only has Albion got his eyes on it, but this video has become viral. The nation has seen what presentation we have. The sad part is hopefully this is not the presentation that you would want to present to the world, that this is how Albion handles situations where a child was abused in custody of a police officer. I worked many years at Star Commonwealth with a few here, and one thing I can tell you, I've been spit on, kicked, I've had feces thrown at me, and I've never taken my fist and beat a child. I was trained by Star Commonwealth for years how to handle a child in distress without handcuffs, and was able to safely bring a child in subjection without my fist or handcuffs. So I'm amazed when two grown men have a problem, especially when a child has a mental health problem. I don't want to spend my time saying what you've already seen, because if I've got to tell you what you've seen is horrible, then there's something wrong. If I got to tell you how the pain that child had to suffer, then that's something wrong. And I ask myself, how can we be as human beings and watch that and not do anything about it? What I came to do is plead to those that have the power to make sure that the right thing is done in this vote, because obviously the right thing couldn't have been done here. So in this situation, we need other eyes to come in that don't live in this city or whatever, an investigation to get justice. The people deserve that. We live in a country that when the Ebola virus came out, they made sure to tell the people, be safe, there's a deadly disease out there right now. But yet we got a deadly disease right in this city right here of this racism and segregation and the problems that's happening against us as African-American men. I can't explain to you how I already had fear as African-American men driving in a car. But I can't explain to you now I got to worry about my grandchildren walking down the street. I got to worry about the children now that are being beat and subject to it. It almost amazes me that I have to stand here and say to you that we need help. But I also find out when people are in places that they're not no longer fit, then maybe they shouldn't be in that position. So if this is a time for us to look and say the people that we vote in, that we need to spend more time going to the voting booth. We need to spend more time on who we vote for.
Sir.
I'll bring it down because I don't want to put that.
Time's up, sir.
What's that?
Is it, your time is up, sir.
Oh, sir. Okay. Do the right, as Spike Lee said, do the right thing.
Yeah.
Garrett Brown, 1016 South Superior Street. I want to echo what Reverend Warnsley just said. The nation's looking at you. Residents are looking at you. This is important. And one of the things that I'll agree with him. I think that the city really does need to have someone come in and look and see that the policies have been followed. You know, when you hear that in the course of an investigation, the tape is shared with department heads that are not in the police department, that raises some concerns. It raises some concerns. And the thing is, you know, when I was looking at social media today, there's a lot of attempts to kind of distract and throw the issue off. Basically, we have a situation where in one of the newspapers they were saying that he had the cognitive capacity of a 7-year-old, right? And so this should not be happening. So I would encourage the council to take action to get a third-party investigator or firm to come in and to look at the policies that the city has, look if they were followed, and present that to the residents. And I agree. I think that if that doesn't happen, then citizens have recourse, like I said, in June and December of this year. So that's something I'd encourage you all to do, and I'll just leave it with that. Thank you.
Please, no applause, no noise when people are speaking.
Serena Smith, 903 Borough, Precinct 4. First of all, I would like to thank my councilwoman, Marcola Lawler. She did what the city was supposed to do and was cleaning out the leaves and all that. We just want you to know our precinct really appreciates you. Now, we're fired up. It's ridiculous. Bottom line is, I just see that I don't understand why it was swept in under the rug, why we had to listen to it on the Detroit news. We had no clue. I don't even think the city council board had any clue of what was going on. But now it's national. And when I looked at this meeting when you had the meeting, I was watching it on YouTube. You, Mr. Mayor, just don't care. It looked like to me. I don't see where you was, basically I took it as you just sweeping it under, oh, they're taking care of it. No, they're not taking care of it. It's not being taken care of. So that's what I got from you. And the next thing is we had a protest. I didn't see the NAACP. I didn't see people that advocate for children. Where are these people? We're here, and we fired up, and we ready to go, because we're not going to sweep it up and under the rug. Thank you.
My name is Lonnie Brewer, stay on Hillside Road. You know what disappointed me? I'm going to say this. It was a young man that put a swastika downtown on the building. Everybody saw that. Everybody came together. Everybody came together. They prayed together. They looked for solution. We all came together. Now, check this out. I don't see no white people supporting what we're talking about today. None. None. Now, yes, I'm making it like that. And I'm saying this for a reason. I'm not retarded, not special, none of that. Yeah, I understand that. But I'm going to say just like this, though. This young man got beat down by the police. And nobody seems to care. They didn't tell us anything. We didn't know nothing about it. 5 months? And then someone said, well, officer, they did their part. They did what they have to do. Come on now. Let me tell y'all about reports. Anytime you write up a report, every time, if the police never been charged and all the charges was on the child, you think they're going to charge the police? No, they're not. Nobody have a reason to charge that guy because nobody didn't charge him. What killed, he didn't even charge the man. So how the police is going to pick it up? They go by how the report is being written up. That's what they go off of, how the report is being written up. But we're saying all of that, you guys, we got to do better than this. Because I'm like you said, Reed, I don't see no NWCP here. I don't see no leader that call themselves is looking out for the youth. I don't see it. So people get upset with my brother and I when we speak on these things like we just done said the baddest thing in the world. Every time we speak on unjust, somebody said, be quiet, don't talk about it. When can we talk about it? How come only time we get some attention, especially a black child, when the child get in trouble? That's the only time that child get attention. When they sit up there and cry out, every day we hear a child cry. We don't have anything to do. Every time we walk the street, police mess with us. Now, as soon as that child get in trouble, everybody here, the media here, police there, that's the only time that child gets some attention. When are we going to save these kids and when these child's going to be heard and they got to take them to get in trouble to be heard? That's it. That child was crying out, please, please, help me, please. I want y'all to understand if that was your little girl, that was your child. Please, please help me, please. And the only thing the police said, hey, too late for that. I came 2 days ago. Now, what if it's his child? Somebody beat his child, and I say, well, child bad. I got 4 minutes left, sir.
No, sir, you're out of time.
I know. You out of time, too.
I
was going to speak. I'm Tiffany Isom, and I used to live in Albion. I still support Albion. I am disgusted. I'm disgusted at you, David Atchison, the way you're looking at everybody when they're speaking their mind. I am a behavior interventionist. I have never in life, and I deal with these type of kids every day at my job, at Battle Creek Schools that I work at. I have never in life seen what I saw in that video. I get kicked. I get punched. I deal with kids with autism. I deal with all type of kids with behaviors. Everything that you can think of, I have dealt with. And this police officer and you guys think it's okay, and I'm not going to make it a race thing. I'm going to make it about the fact that this child has a mental disability. And he was punched on 7 times, handcuffed. Not only that, pepper spray. What can a child that's 13 years old with the mental capacity that he had do to anybody, harm anybody in that way, and his hands is behind his back, and he's pepper sprayed, and you're staring at me for this 1 minute and 56 seconds like this ain't real. This is life. This is somebody's child. And I'm like, Donnie, what if it was your child, your grandchild, your sister's child? I want you to keep that same energy, and I'm done. Because I'm going to support Albion regardless.
My name is Renee Miller, 208 Booth Drive, Albion. I'm going to touch on something that Mr. Brewer talked about. I'll just be real brief here. One of the things that concerned me was why wasn't this young man charged? I think the agenda item is that we're trying to get an approval for independent investigation. So I'm going to speak to why we need that and why that's important. Report writing is everything. It baffled me how Dan Gilbert could look at that situation and not charge Mr. Collins. I said, it doesn't make any sense. And if you can make it make sense to me, I'll go along with it. But it didn't make sense on why he didn't charge him. until I started thinking about the report writing. But we don't have enough information to make an accurate assessment to why that could have happened. We don't have the reports. We haven't seen all 4 videos. We only going by minimum information. And so I began to look at, Dan Gilbert responded to someone on Facebook the other day. And I'm not going to quote him word for word because I don't have his quote. I mean, what he said in front of me, and I don't want to misquote him. But one of the things that Dan Gilbert said during that, when he responded to her, was that the police had the right to beat someone up. They could kick them. They could hit them. He said those things in her response to Tamara Simmons. I was appalled. One of the things he said was he was only asked for an opinion. Underline it, he was only asked for an opinion. So it goes back again to the report writing. Further, one of the other things that I followed up and read on there was that one of the things that was written in a police report, if I'm wrong, I like to read the report so that I can correct it if it's inaccurate, was that he was described as, he wasn't described as a child. He was described as someone who had these problems in the past, how many times the police had been called out there. And then they described him as, but he was like, they described his weight and his height. That's a problem. Because all across America, that is what they do to black men and black boys, little boys. White boys are described as, oh, he's just a child with a mental health condition. We're described as animals. We're big, we're burly, we're this black thing. We're made into a monster. Maybe that's why he didn't get charged, because the report writing was not good. So I implore you guys to please open up an independent investigation.
I'm Jock Harris, 212 South Dalrymple Street. It took me a while to come to grasp with what I wanted to say because Davion played on my football team. He is a special kid to me. And when I finally saw that video yesterday, it made me upset, made me wanted to do some things and say some things that would be out of my character. And what it resulted in my thinking about is, Mr. Mayor, I want to know personally what you feel about the situation, because you represent us as Albion. All of us back here, we Albion. I'm going to be real, I didn't vote for you, but somebody in here might have, and they voted for you because they expected something of you. I know some people that voted for you, and I talked to them, and they said they respected you. They had some qualities that they saw in you. And right now, I'm looking for you to help make a change. You know, the people that are not here today that were discussed, the NAACP, some of the mentors I had growing up, I'm not going to say all their names, but Mr. Bonner, for one, I don't know where he is, but growing up, he taught us that you stand up for what you believe in. So if this was on Hannah Street, I bet a lot more people would be here. If this was over there right at the college, I bet a lot of more people would be having something more to say. But because this happened in the inner part of Albion with a black kid that don't have no connection to Albion College, don't have no connection with a bunch of Caucasian people, I'll make it a race thing in a heartbeat. I like to do that. I'm going to be honest. Because what I see in Albion is becoming a race thing in every which way. We got our kids going to school in Marshall, and Marshall don't want them. And Mr. Atchison, you showing us right now today that you don't want us in here even talking to you. So what I'm going to do this final 58 seconds, 55, is look you in your eyes and tell you no matter how you look at us, no matter how many times you look at that clock hoping we get done talking, it ain't going to change how we feel. We are Albion. It ain't going to change what we do here in this city, because we not going to give up until there's some change. All the council members here, I know all of y'all personally. Shane, we went to school together. My feelings to y'all is no different. I want to see change in this city. I came back here, gave up the Kalamazoo promise for my kids because I wanted to make a difference. I can't do it on my own, and y'all can't either. But we got people back here that's willing to make a difference. And you, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, maybe not you, Mr. Harkness, but all of y'all up here are expected to do something to help this community. So just like y'all got placed in here, y'all can also get placed out.
And we still don't care.
Okay. Refrain from applause and speaking when people are making their public statements. We'll have to have a recess. Go ahead,
My
sir.
name is Lee Embry, 600 Orchard Drive. This case came up. I viewed it. I'm always on YouTube looking at worldwide how the police just violate people's rights. I got a son. After I seen that video, I have a son that's been diagnosed with Asperger, if you know what that is. He's high functional autistic. He over in Battle Creek, or Canopy, get a call from his mom. His resource teacher told him, I don't know how you made it to the 7th grade. So she said she was going to email. I said, nope. I took the day off and went over there. I want to see this teacher. You say something like this to a child, it knocks their confidence down. A child with a disorder. That was a year ago. Just months ago, I had to go back over the same thing. Teacher said something wrong. I showed up on the spot. I'm always Johnny on the spot. I'm saying that to say this. On my job, this took 5, 6 months for this to come out. On my job, I had an issue where a white gentleman called a black gentleman a nigger, and he'd kill all the niggas in here. Gentleman didn't want to do nothing. I took it on my own. I skipped everybody and went straight to the plant manager because he needed to know he's the root and let it trickle down. It took them 6 months. 6. You know what I did? I went to one other person that didn't know nothing about it. Told him it took him 3 days to walk that guy out of there. It's a shame that this kind of stuff, we wouldn't even be sitting here now if business was taken care of. That's going to show you what Albion, that shows each person that's sitting at this table. Know right from wrong. Right is right, wrong is wrong. The problem is too many cliques against each other. This little group want to stick to themselves. Everything become political and inside. Everybody want to seem important by sitting in a chair, but don't want to do the right thing. Do the right thing.
I'm Charlene McCormick. I live at 216 South Ann Street. And I want to know why ain't nothing being done about this either. Because that officer broke the law. They passed the law. Y'all always passing laws, but y'all don't stand by them. They passed the law saying we can't whip our own kids. This man beat somebody else's child. Why ain't he in jail? They got Davion for stuff that he didn't even do. Everybody, when you watch a movie or stuff, everybody sees something different or miss something. Davion laying on that back seat of that car handcuffed with his feet out the door. The officer got mad because Davion went pull his feet in so he could shut the door. That's what he got mad about. Davion wasn't kicking him. Davion didn't even have time to spit on him because he was screaming and hollering and crying while this man throwing these blows on him. If we can't whoop our own kids, why can't the damn, most everybody even know. Police shouldn't be able to either. You know? And most of the people in Albion, everybody in Albion mostly know each other, black, white, everybody. You know, and they get along. Most of them get along. But it ain't gonna be no more getting along like that. I mean, a white parent don't even know when it's gonna be their child next. It could happen to them too. It just happens to black people all over the world. People in Albion, if you're watching this on Facebook, on TV, Y'all sitting at home watching it. Y'all need to be down here supporting Davion and his family.
Thank you.
Y'all need to be down here supporting because you'll never know when it's going to be you. And white people, things always could turn around. It could be one of y'all. Not saying it's going to be a black person that do these, but it could be one of y'all. You never know. And like they were saying about who over this and who over that, God over all of us. God did not die, Jesus did not die and say, white man rule this world. But y'all think y'all do. Y'all don't. We poor, ain't got nothing. But I'll tell you what, most of us in here are more happy than y'all. We happy. Y'all ain't happy, y'all just got money. Money don't make everybody happy. Y'all remember that.
Fred Alexander, 208 Watson Street. I have lived in Albion for 35 years, pastored Bethel going on 36 years. I have been called to the scene with public safety in severe cases of fights and murders. I've helped public safety through the years. I was a guard at Jackson Prison, and we were taught to subdue only with enough force to stop the issue. If the ones who are supposed to uphold the law become lawless, and the ones who respect the upholders become lawless, you have nothing but a violent city because no one is upholding anything. If the one who's responsible for arrest do wrong, then who's supposed to arrest them? I would just encourage you to approve the independent investigation and make the results of it public, because all officers, all officials in the city represent the city.
My name is Tremaine Williams, and I got here a little bit late coming from work, so I believe this is like, I guess he just answered my question about this is for you guys to vote and see if an independent investigation would be opened. Now, when I first looked at the video, since I know both parties, my first thought was, let me see if it was any kind of just cause or any kind of just reason. I didn't want to jump too quick to any judgment on either part where at the same time, I automatically felt like it was unfair because I saw a 13-year-old boy getting punched by an officer. But after I looked at it more and more, I'm just like, I'm going through my head, you know, I worked at Star Commonwealth for 10 years, and none of the time out of my 10 years have I ever saw anybody do that to one of the kids. Now, we had a lot of training at Star Commonwealth, but I believe as a police officer, y'all should be going through the same rigorous training as we had. One thing I would say is I commend the people for letting him go, but at the same time, that actually lets me know that they know that something is wrong, right? And so if he can be fired for the situation, he definitely should be under some kind of investigation for the situation. And so I couldn't, in good conscience, sit up there and look at that video and feel like the officer had the right to do that. I don't care who you are. There's no reason for you to punch a handcuffed person. I don't care if he was mentally disabled, if he was 13. I don't care if it was myself. I don't feel like somebody in handcuffs should be punched and pepper sprayed. But then you want to add on the fact that he's mentally challenged and 13 years old. That's abuse. We can't do that to our kids, as someone said. You know, there's clearly a double standard. And, you know, my message is here for each one of y'all. Because if any of y'all vote to pass that, I don't have no respect for you. And my respect probably don't mean nothing to y'all. But this was my teacher. I know you. I don't know you. I know all of y'all except y'all right here. And I can't have respect for you if you say that there's no need for an investigation. Because if nothing was wrong, then it should be okay, right? And I mean, I know the officer. The officer, you know, we talked about community policing together. He gave my nephew a tour of the fire station. I put it on Facebook. I was trying to encourage people to get down and do stuff with the police officers. I was trying to encourage community building. But this was senseless. There's no reason for him to have hit that young boy, and for any of y'all to say no to that. I mean, I don't know how anybody can have respect for you.
Well, I didn't intend to speak tonight either. I'm Leslie Dick. I live at 700 East Michigan Avenue. And there are just so many questions I have that I can't even begin. But I do know that a change has to come. And I know that some of the change has to happen soon. Because as I hear my friends and neighbors, there's a lot of pain in this room right now. And I heard your priority list last week, and I didn't hear the need for more minority hiring. I didn't hear the need for pushing forward the serious conflict of interest that we have with our public safety chief being the city manager and investigating his own department. It has to change. It has to start changing now. And first of all, the child who was, well, we've all seen that video. And we all know that the real crime that occurred here is the silence. The silence of the people who stood while he was being beaten. And we don't see an investigation of them. If there were 4 videos, there were people that were working their phones or their cameras that weren't working on that child's behalf. So I just have to say, it has to change. I know there are people in this city who are working, who are criticized here, who are working at this moment on this issue. And I think we have to trust that we will come together. But it has to start now, and it has to start soon. And there has to be a change. There has to be change in the attitude of the leadership of this town. And there has to be a sense of compassion, and there has to be a commitment that it will start now.
Hi, my name is Stephen Moore. I'm a former resident of Albion, Michigan. I was sent here by some people who's very concerned with what's going on in Albion, and they sent me because I'm a former resident of Albion. The first thing I want to start off with is under Penal Code 368 of the United States of America, mental abuse is a crime in America. I'm very upset and disturbed by this, and that's what took place with Devion. Summit Point is a Calhoun County incentive crisis subsidiary team, and it's mobilized. That means you can call on them. They've been trained to help with measures like this. On this particular day, they were called twice. I wonder why they weren't called on the third time when the incident took place. There's no excuse. And that came from the police. During this crisis, you heard a young man say, I'll go to the hospital. It's against the law to refuse anyone medical any condition in requesting for medical attention. Not only was Devion violated, he wasn't granted that wish, which is also a crime. When the video was shown, it also said that there were it was a representative from the Calhoun County social worker. Thank you. I also investigated that. There was not a worker from the Calhoun County social worker. It was someone from Summit Point. The office at the social workers said that they knew nothing about this incident and what they wanted to know why, since it had taken place so long ago. I'm going to go on to Officer Collins right now. First of all, Officer Collins violated Devion's rights when he decided to handcuff him, pepper spray him, and beat him. He was no longer an officer at that time. He gave up that right because the officer was supposed to protect and serve. Not only that officer, but the other officer that was with him. He didn't stop his fellow officer. That is a crime. So both of them should be brought up on charges immediately. Not only that, Devion clearly stated that he wanted to go to the hospital again, which didn't happen, which is a crime. He clearly violated his rights on several occasions. Honestly, I don't even know why this is taking place, because it's clear that it was some charges that should be made, and it was plenty of crimes committed.
Are there any further public comments? First item for discussion, approval of an independent investigation into the actions of the Albion Department of Public Safety following the 24th November 2018 incident. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Before we go into discussion, I'll ask the city attorney to remind us. You provided us some information over the weekend. If you would caution us.
Point of order, that was attorney-client privilege. We'd have to vote to waive that privilege.
Well, and that point is well taken. What I would just say is the council's aware that I sent a memo to the council that is subject to attorney-client privilege, and I would just ask that any discussion that the council engages in on this point, that you do so with that memorandum in mind.
Thank you. Is there discussion? Councilmember Williamson.
I want to move to table this independent investigation until the council has time to review the Michigan State Police independent investigation that was done on this event.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to amend this motion to table this until we have the Michigan State Police report and have had an opportunity to review that. I know there are FOIA requests that have been submitted for that. Is there discussion on that amendment? Councilmember Williamson.
So something that we need to be careful of, tonight's, the main motion is on approval of an independent investigation. The Albion Public Safety, when this incident was reviewed and brought forward back when it happened, referred it to the Michigan State Police for a criminal investigation, independent of the city's doing. It has been made aware to me that no one has actually seen that report or investigation or all the evidence that was submitted, and so it would seem hard to order another investigation when one has already been completed but not reviewed by neither the public nor council. So I'm hoping, I made the request ahead of this like last week because I just was trying to scramble to find more information, but realizing that process we should probably do this formally as the city council to demand that we get that information from Michigan State Police so that we have time to review that and see what was done there before we do yet another investigation. I yield.
Councilmember Brown.
Thank you. So I may have been in agreement with that like maybe 3 or 4 months ago, but I know that the opinion from prosecuting attorney David Gilbert came February 27th. Today is May 13th. The council from February 20th to today, we have not been brought up to speed with the process. I mean, even prosecuting attorney Gilbert's opinion, we just got that over the weekend, and it was done in February. So I'm having a problem with the timeline, the lack of communication, the lack of action. You know, I don't know if you all have friends that serve in other communities on city council, but I have reached out, and what I can tell you is when I share the information we got, when we got it, and the information we don't have, this is not normal. This is not normal. I have reached out to a former Albion resident, born and raised here, serves on city council in Elgin right now, and she was blown away. She gave me a lot of guidance. So I will say this. I am not in support of tabling this. I think that we don't have time to waste. It's November to May. That's enough time. So I yield.
Okay. Councilmember Reed.
I talked with her also, and she said she is not aware of all the problems. We have a motion. Can we call for the question?
Okay, the motion is to table this until after we receive the report, which has been requested. Councilmember Clark.
So I have a question because I wasn't on the council when all this took place. And so when we had our meeting on Monday, when it was brought up, I totally didn't know anything about it either. So, I was taken by surprise even after I went home, of course, with the video and things like that. So is it normal protocol? I just need to ask because I don't know. And I'm not one of these people to try to act like you know everything when you don't know. So in the incidents when something happens in the city, you're saying that it's normal protocol that it comes to here? It's a normal report or something that comes? That's what I'm asking.
Councilmember Brown.
Thank you. So just for clarification, you know, the magnitude of the incident that occurred in November, I mean, that wasn't just a minor incident. I hadn't seen the tape until it aired on the news. So I made arrangements to come in here and see it with Chief Kip this past Friday. What I'm saying is, with the current climate of the country right now, and police brutality, and those who are in positions to have viewed that tape back when the incident occurred, there should have been a reasonable person would have foreseen, oh, this could get really ugly. I better alert my counsel. That's what I'm saying. There was a similar incident in Elgin, and I mean, the communication was there. What I'm saying is, you weren't on council when the incident occurred, but you have about as much information as we did, and I yield.
Councilmember Williamson.
The incident, so I came on council right as this incident happened and was referred to the Michigan State Police for investigation. The council received communication from, I believe it was LaTanya Rufus, the city manager at the time, who said that there was an incident, officer placed on administrative leave. That is the normal protocol when those things happen. Following an investigation in February, the council then received notification from acting city manager Kip, also chief of police, that an officer had been discharged from service at that time, and that Michigan State Police had completed their investigation. So that is what we had. Colin, would you like to say something?
Just as a point of clarification, it was actually me that told the council.
Sorry, Colin. Yeah, sorry. Colin did. Yes, both times. It was Colin, sorry.
No, it was Tom Meade.
No, December 4th, I sent you an email regarding that.
On February 20th, Tom Meade did.
Oh, he may have also, yeah. I'm saying I sent.
Sorry, the first one. So the council did receive the information that there's an investigation and then actual action taken. I just like everyone else questioned the timing of the airing of the video and things like that. I also understand from the questions that were asked at the last meeting that the city of Albion actually referred itself to Michigan State Police when they were made aware. So when the incident happened, they then reported it to the Michigan State Police for investigation. So there was that required no family complaint or any situation like that. We actually pulled on ourselves, which was the responsible thing to do per our policy. And so I think what's important to remember about the Michigan State Police investigation is that it was done independently of the city. It was outside the city's control. It would speak to the evidence gathered. It would speak to all of the reports that people are ruminating on and thinking exist. It would then say what the end result of that investigation is when it then was referred to the county prosecutor. And I think it would shed light on everything that everyone wants to know. I think it would be jumping the gun at the moment, because if we launched yet another investigation when one has already been completed, it is as if we are invalidating the findings or the results of an investigation that already has been completed and that no one has looked at. And to be fair to Councilmember Brown's comments about, why didn't we have it? Well, why didn't anyone ask? And anyone up here had the ability, including Councilmember Brown, to do that. So I think it would be important that we table this second investigation that is unnecessary at the moment when one has already been done. Can we call order, Mayor?
Okay. You cannot be silent. We're going to have to ask you to leave.
I yield.
Okay, so point of order, the amendment before us is to table this until after we get the report. That's been seconded. City Attorney Hargis.
Just as a point of clarification on what's going on from a parliamentarian perspective, it's not an amendment. You've got a main motion for an investigation. You've got a separate motion to table the main motion.
Okay.
Sorry.
So I'm still asking questions. So at that point, it was the city manager's responsibility to, she did share that this officer was put on leave, but what I'm hearing is she didn't talk about the urgency of this matter to council to make council aware that it's something that you guys should have been more aware of that could be later what we're doing right now. Is that clear? Is that a clear point? Is that what happened?
Councilmember Brown.
Thank you. Well, she was put on administrative leave not too long after that. So I will say this. The motion right now is for an independent investigation. As far as the state police investigation and all, we weren't made aware of that there was a state police investigation report that was completed, Because if you remember last Monday, I asked why the prosecutor's office had one video. And it was at that time that I learned that there were a total of 4 videos. I didn't even know that had been submitted to the state police. So, you know, what we had is a situation where the police was trying to police the police. And the result has been unfavorable to this community. So the motion right now is to bring in an independent entity, not a police entity, an independent entity who specializes in these type of things so they can look over everything. And then we can be transparent from this point moving forward with our community and do what we need to do to heal.
Okay, so clarifications to the attorney. The motion before us is the table?
You've got 2 motions.
Yeah.
So you've got a main motion, which is Councilwoman Brown's motion.
Right.
And then Councilman Williamson has made a motion to table the main motion.
Okay.
So the motion, that motion has been moved and seconded, so what you're discussing right now is whether or not to table the main motion.
Okay. So, you called the question, so, okay.
Oh, support.
No, it's already.
You don't have to.
Okay, so if you're making a motion to call the question, that would end debate, which means that requires a supermajority vote to end debate.
Right.
So
You could just wait till
it's either there's a motion to call the question, or just discussion is done and you can vote on the motion to table.
Is there any further discussion on tabling an independent review?
I have one final comment.
Councilmember Brown.
You know, if any council member sitting here can explain to the rest of us the policies and the process that was taken to assure that those policies were followed, I'd love to hear that. And if none of us sitting here can explain that, then we definitely need this independent investigation.
Okay. Please call the roll.
This motion is, we're voting for what?
This is for tabling
This is
until after we receive the report and review it. Please call the roll call.
Councilmember Clark,
No.
Reed, Brown,
No.
Lawler,
No.
Spicer,
No.
Williamson,
Yes.
and Mayor Atchison.
Yes. Okay. So the motion to table fails to pass. So, the next motion that we'll vote on is for an independent review.
Well, you're back in discussion, correct?
Councilmember Lawler.
Thank you, Mayor. During the time last Monday till now, I've had some time to myself to think about this whole situation. And what I've came up with is the question that was put before me is, what is my duty as a councilwoman? And I thought about that and thought about it for a long time. Sleepless nights about what is my duty as a council person. A few things came to mind. One is, what is fair to our police force? What is fair to our chief who resides in my precinct? What is fair to our community that has questions that I myself can't answer? And what is justice for Davion? What does that look like to me? And these were hard questions for me. So, since I laid the main question to myself is, what is my duty as a councilwoman? And that is to do the right thing. And the right thing for me is to have a fresh pair of eyes. Someone that can see what we didn't see or see what we did see. And so I support this independent investigation. Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Spicer.
Thank you. I just would like to say that this has been really heartfelt for me. And I think that our police chief apparently did what he felt was appropriate with regard to the situation. And I think, and also I think that in forwarding it to the Michigan State Police also was appropriate in that he apparently felt that he didn't want the process tainted in that regard. However, what I don't understand is I have questions that I don't think I can basically share all of them here for violating some certain things with regard to the city and contracts and things like that, so rules. But I think I have too many questions. I'm wondering, what did the social worker say? What was not the worker from Summit Point? And what was the report of the officer that was there? And what was the information shared by the family, Davion's family, what they observed and what they saw? I think for me, and then there was questions that there were rotated to the state, and then there were only one viewed at the prosecutor officer, meaning there are too many unanswered questions. And I don't see a harm in an independent investigation. If our city followed policies and procedures, then there's nothing that we should be hiding and running from. So my concern is that the community has answers to their questions and that they're satisfied and that we are satisfied. I don't think that this process is going to harm or hurt anyone. The only thing that can come out of this is the truth. And people will be satisfied and hopefully, and we can move on and heal as a community. I think to not move forward in this regard would be hurting our community even further. So I am totally in support of an independent investigation.
Councilmember Reed.
For one reason, that's why I wanted, I asked for tabling, so that the council has not had even a chance to talk about this. And the people in the audience has not seen all of the videos. You saw the one that was put on the television, on Facebook, but there's many more that was very helpful. I went down and sat for about an hour or more. It was just that long, seeing all of the videos, and when you see them, you get a different perspective. I know.
No, you won't. He's a mentally ill child. But I'm gonna get up there because I'm walking myself out because he was a mentally ill child, and there's no difference. That's all that matters. He's 13. He's handcuffed, and he's mentally ill. I don't care what you say. And I don't care what she say. He was mentally ill, disabled. You don't put your hands on the disabled child. Period. With a T. Okay.
And as I was saying, being a teacher for 38 years, there was often times that he and I met in the hall. He would just walk up and he'd hug me and I'd hug him. I'm very well aware of the fact that he was mentally disabled. I'm very well aware of the fact that he had some problems. I'm very well aware of the fact that we need to work not only on our police force problems, but also on the mental health situation problems with the people who handle those. There's more involved than just getting rid of our officer. And if you look at last week, I think it was in Kalamazoo or either Grand Rapids, where the 9-year-old boy shot his mother, he was having mental problems too. The teachers at school knew that he was having mental problems, but nobody really got to that child to help him with his mental problems along with his home problems or whatever. and he ended up shooting his mother. So, I mean, there's a lot involved when you start talking about something like this. And it's not always punish this one, let this one go, tap this one on the hand, let this one go. I understand, and I am not for an adult hitting a child at any time. And so therefore, you know, I just felt it's better to have it tabled until the council could even get an understanding and discuss it within themselves as to what area, how do we do this, which way do we go?
Councilmember Clark.
After listening to everybody talk today and asking enough questions, I understood why the city, and I'm not going to make it a black and white thing, although we're all mostly black here, but I'm not going to make it a black and white thing. I understand why the city wanted an answer. This is the first time Albion has had something of this magnitude to happen. And because of the length of time, I understand why people are boiling and want answers the way they do. And there's a mistrust at this point that people are having with the investigation or how it was handled. Not that I question the way it was done, not that I question that the report is going to show too much different, but I think for the residents, that's why I voted the way I did tonight, because I feel like if we look at it, yes, the council does, I don't know everything, and some of the other council members don't know everything. But one thing stood clear in my head that somebody said, if there's nothing that was done wrong, what is it going to hurt?
Okay. All right. So the video of the incident is disturbing. And while this is an isolated incident and it reflects poorly on our city, it's not a reflection of our city or our police department, our public safety department. Okay? There were procedures put in place by Chief Kipp long before this ever took place. This was an isolated incident. The officer was removed from duties and was subsequently fired after an investigation. Chief Kipp did the right thing by referring this to an external agency, the Michigan State Police. They reviewed it, did an investigation, and forwarded that to the county prosecutor. Okay. Chief Kipp did his job and the procedures were followed. Okay. No one has made any excuse for the former officer's conduct, and this is an isolated yet definitely unacceptable actions by an individual officer. This is not some systemic police brutality within the Albion Public Safety Department, nor is this racially motivated. Okay? So, as members of City Council, we need to be fair and impartial and do the right thing. I absolutely agree with that. We need to conduct this in an atmosphere of respect and civility. So, Councilmember Williamson.
I have a point of information. I have a question to ask Cullen. Attorney Harkness, who is going to do this investigation?
I don't know, because I know in the past I've had conversations with the county sheriff, and he, obviously he's not here tonight, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, but he's made it clear that he does not care to be involved in the internal matters of the city, and the state police were the ones that conducted the investigation on this case already, so I don't know.
Councilmember Brown.
Thank you. So would it make sense to put out an RFP and see who does this kind of work and who's interested in doing it? I do have the name of a free service that I could give you that's based out of Louisville, Kentucky. Like I said, and then I do know the firm that the city of Elgin used. So there are firms out here who specialize in this stuff. It seems like the procedure would be put out the request for quote or request for proposal and see what we get back.
Well, I think as a council, you have to determine what your RFP or RFQ is going to be. You're going to have to set a budget for it. You're going to have to determine.
We have a meeting on Monday.
Okay. All right. Please call the roll. We're voting on the motion to approve an independent investigation into the actions of ADPS following the 24 November 18 incident.
Councilmember Reed? Brown?
Yes.
Lawler?
Yes.
Spicer?
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
and Mayor Atchison.
Yes. Public comments. Those wishing to make public comment, please step forward, state your name and address for the record.
Greg Gant, 26730 West Michigan Ave. It's a lot been said. I understand it was an unfortunate incident. Yes, he was wrong. And people who know me know my whole thing is, what's next? And I'm glad we'll go forward with an independent investigation. So just to give people behind me some understanding, according to the county, he didn't break the law. I like to look at and research laws so I know what I'm make sure I'm doing the right thing or not. According to the city, he did, so he got fired. That's just the way it works. I understand how some of these things work. You have to understand, I was made aware of it Monday. Saw the video, had my comments. So anyway, I'm not gonna be long. Just know that for the residents, know that we're trying to do something. We're here because we're trying to do something. We're concerned, as we should be. And, so that's my thing. I just wanted to know what are we going to do about it. So an investigation goes forward. At the very, very end of the day, if we care about this young man, when he comes home, check on him. Invite him out. If you're going out with your kids, ask the grand, hey, everybody want to go, something. Because at the end of the day, this boy needs some love, obviously. I'm hoping and assuming he's getting it where he's at now. So when he come home, let's continue to show our support. We got together last week Thursday, and one thing, me and a friend of mine did a video on Facebook, and I asked, we coming together now, can we stay together, please? Can we start supporting each other outside of city council, outside of bad incidents? Can we support each other through some good incidents, good, some stuff. So, but anyway, that's all I got to say is just understand the law. He wasn't charged because according to the county, he didn't break the law. So that's where what happened with the investigation. They're told if someone's in your custody and they're out of control, do what you have to do to get them in control. City says excessive force, you lose your job, and that's what happened. So we got to get some more understanding, and I think that's what happens. Signals get crossed. Miscommunication is a bad thing. So some more understanding, some communication has to keep happening, and we got to stay together. So that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Fred Alexander, 208 Watson Street. First of all, I want to commend you for voting to have the independent counsel. It's, from November to now, 6 months that has already been tabled, and it's time to untable it. The independent investigation will not hinder the Michigan State investigation. Chances are the two will confirm each other, and they will have recommendations of things to be done. Things to be done for public safety, things to be done that will help Davion and others in his position. So I would just encourage you, when you get the investigation, do what the investigation says.
I think I've already stated my name, Renee Miller. Thank you. I want to say thank you to the council that voted yes. I think that was super important and that was big. I don't care what your political affiliation is. I don't care if you're Democrat. I don't care if you're a Republican. I don't care if you're independent. That doesn't matter to me. I don't take sides, and I'm for what's right and for what's fair and balanced. And anybody who have any common sense could look at this situation. I must say, I'm disappointed and I say this with great reserve. I'm disappointed at the remarks from you, Lynn Reed. I'm really disappointed. I love you. I have a lot of respect for you, and I always have. But I'm just speechless because there's never an excuse for an unarmed individual, unarmed and handcuffed. There's no excuse for that. I don't care if you've taught for 40 years. I don't care what you do in your capacity, any one of us. If that is okay, how do we make that okay? It doesn't matter what the prosecutor said. The soul of this city, we don't do things like that. I don't care what they're doing across the nation. We don't do that to each other. Everybody in Albion knows each other. White, black, Mexican, no matter who you are, we don't treat each other that way. And we justified that because he was out of control and we justified beating him up. No, the independent investigation was the right thing to do. Now, I think that what we need to look at next, as much respect as I have for Chief Kip, he's a good friend of mine, we need to ask him to recuse himself. He can't serve, that's a conflict of interest. As the city manager, the chief of police, and then to get the feedback, no, that's not right. And he may do a very fair job. However, to keep things on the up and up across the board, we need to ask Chief Kip to recuse himself from that investigation. And I'm going to look to see if that's going to happen. Thank you again, and we look forward to the results.
David Wormsley, 1210 Maple. I also want to say thank you. The only thing that scares me is the lack of communication and leadership. See, it's okay if we don't know what's going on. But when y'all don't know what's going on, that's the problem. And I've been watching, I didn't hear this, I didn't hear this, I didn't know this. That's the problem with communication. And that's what scares me is what are y'all gonna do? Because the thing about it, history gotta happen repeating itself. If y'all don't get it together this time, what happens the next time it happens? Is it gonna be another 8 months before this person get this email to this person email? Y'all right next to each other. How y'all not got that information? So that's my concern, is what is the city council gonna do so everybody at this table know what's going on? Because clearly you know everything that was going on. You know everything. You know everything was going on, my man. You know it all. And what you know, they should have known. See, it's easy, Mr. Williamson. I'm looking at you like a man. It's easy, Mr. Williamson, to be arrogant when you know it all. It's easy to have that confidence because you had all the ducks on the table. But it's unfair when your coworkers don't. So what you should do, suggesting you, that same information that you get, share it with everybody. Because let me tell you some of our reports real quick. The Michigan State probably did make an investigation and got something from it. Because see, at the end of the day, if I'm with my partner, it's about what we write down. See, we don't know what the officer said in the Michigan State Police. He might have said anything and said, well, we don't need to investigate this. So the sellers on the Michigan State seen it, what did they see? Because at the end of the day, the officer writes the reports, Mr. Williamson, and I pray to you, as watching you as well, that this doesn't happen to you because the empathy, my man, if nothing else, the compassion. Same with you, Mr. Mayor. I'm sorry, the compassion. I don't see it. When these people said, these are the people that under you in your city, and yet I've seen your smirks, I've seen everything I've seen the looks, I've seen it all. That's what disturbs me because you're in leadership. And if leadership ain't got compassion for the city, you don't need to go over the city.
Jack Harris, once again, South Dalrymple Street. I'm up here first to say thank you for your voting, doing the right thing. I would like to see that continue in the next steps. It was mentioned about communication. At the last meeting, something was brought up, and I do not know if the rest of Albion caught it. But I caught it, and a couple people I talked to make sure I heard it right, they caught it. And with me being so into the youth of Albion, trying to do things for the youth with the football and things, I heard something about Albion potentially trying to partner with the YMCA for recreational purposes. My father, he caught it, and he couldn't be here today, but he wanted me to make sure I ask and bring it up, make sure the entire Albion is aware of it, because we had a hard time having parents pay $30, $40, $50 to play football. And I know the YMCA, number one, they don't have football. Number two, it's going to be $200 for some sports they have, some activities. If you go to the Kalamazoo YMCA, you got to pay at some things $125. And if they don't have a membership, if they have a membership, it gets lower. But how many people in our Albion community can afford a membership? I have a job that allows us to get a membership at the YMCA. I still won't get a YMCA membership. But what we can do here in Albion is look out for our own. We got people in the community. We had a bunch of guys volunteer just last year to do things with football. We had people volunteer this year just to do basketball. We got people volunteering to do baseball, willing to do it. We got people in our own community willing to do things. But yet we want to keep handing everything away. We handed everything to Marshall already. We handed Albion College everything else. What is we going to have for ourselves? You know, I'm standing here looking at our youth. And when we were putting together this football and we getting new level sports calling me every day, Jock, when you going to have the other 150? You ain't getting the other 150, not this week. We trying to figure out how to make sure these kids can still participate. And partnering with the Y, it's going to be a lot of kids that cannot participate. And the only way I can see it happening is if you do something with the high school. And even if you do something then, people got to pay their tax money to get the high school renovated. It doesn't make sense. Coach was looking to resign, I guess, from the recreation department. I got phone calls left and right about that. We got people that are willing to do things for the city, but you guys constantly don't want the city to do nothing. Y'all want to, like I said, just hand it all away. So at one point, when is Albion going to be Albion again? Because I heard it the other day, at some point, we're going to be East Marshall. And I'm sure some people ain't going to be worried about it, but all y'all ain't going to be up on the board once y'all become East Marshall. Have a good day.
Garrett Brown, 1016 South Superior Street. Again, just a couple of things. There was a question about how an independent investigation can be handled. One of the things that came to mind when I was sitting back there is I guess there was a couple, several years ago, there was an issue with, I believe it was Summit Point, but I'm not sure, but there was a guy named Irv Brinker, and they came in. I think the institution hired a firm to come in and do the investigation. So just like we hire a law firm to handle the lobbying, let's say, for Project Tiger, or we'll hire a law firm to look at, when I was mayor, the Albion Trust. We had Miller Canfield come and do that. So there are major firms, Dickinson Wright, Miller Canfield, Thrun, you name it. Lots of firms in the state that could do that, and I think I want to agree with Pastor Reverend Alexander. I think the idea should be to say, you know, what policies do we have in place? Were those followed? Were the laws followed? And then actually have, if need be, draft policies put in place so that next time you don't have a breakdown in communication. Because I know one of the things that happened even under my predecessor as Mayor Domingo, we put a procedure in place that the council would be notified anytime there was an incident with a city employee or official relative to law enforcement. So we'd get like we're supposed to get a sparse kind of tiers thing that says, you know, an employee, something happened, and pending the results of the investigation, you know, the council will be made known. But how that, I know we get into issues with, I think Mr. Gant was saying that, you know, there are some things that are legal and go through the kind of criminal investigation track, and there are some things that are city policy and administrative. And so it seems as if the termination of former Officer Collins was under the policy umbrella, but not under the criminal thing. So I think that's probably a good way to start, is to see what law firms would be able to come through and do that, because they're going to have knowledge of the law, have knowledge of, I know the council has spent numerous of times has had Attorney Smith come down, and he did some training. So lawyers can help make sure that the city doesn't have this breakdown in a process, because we want to respect, having sat on council, you want to respect the administration and their ability to handle personnel, but then it puts elected officials in a weird position when you're out at Felposh or Family Fair and someone comes up to you and says, hey, and you're like, oh, I didn't know that happened. So thank you. I want to, again, thank you so much for voting unanimously in favor of an independent investigation. Thank you.
Lee Emery. I think I got my address already. I read in the Marshall Chronicle, I think it was, back a couple months ago. So now looking at an article you wrote, and I read the whole thing, and it was like a neon sign. It was all concentrating on the college, downtown streets, Oak Lawn. The only question I have for you, Mayor, what you gonna do for Albion community?
Fred Alexander, this is my last time getting up. Just for the record,
Privilege.
as urgent as this is the next time. This is not the first time, this is the next time. Years ago, probably 30 years or more, one of the members of Bethel was thrown down in the street by public safety. So this is not the first time. Community, we came together. It happened before they had video cameras. So there was no proof other than the word, and there was no investigation, but it was handled. And so I just want you to know that this is not the first time. This is not the first time. This is the next time. And because of the cameras, it's witnessed and it's urgent. If not for the cameras, it may have been swept under the rug. But thanks to the cameras and witnesses, and thank God for investigations. I have supported public safety all through the years. I still support public safety. And I support the council and you, Mayor, and I stand for what's right. And so I'm glad that you have voted to have the independent investigation. I want you to know that on record, as pastor, I'm here to do whatever I can to help, and that includes, if necessary, opening the church for public meetings. But I just want you to know you have my support.
Liney Brewer. I want to speak off of that isolation case too. It was a young man called the police in Broadwell Street. It was a domestic fight next door. He called the police. He came out. As soon as he seen the police, he walked out and said, they over there, the police maced him in the mouth. He fell out. He been having a seizure ever since to the day he died. Police didn't even ask him a question. They didn't want to know. Another incident, a young child was at the store, fell out with a seizure. Police came and said, oh, it's a domestic. We heard it's a domestic. No, they said, no, it's a young, shut up. He started macing everybody in the crowd. It's not an isolation case. So it's isolation for you, but not for us. Another incident occurred where a lady called the police because her nephew was being beaten up. So the police asked what's going on. So she walked out there and said, well, the police said, get back. She said, when you act, he grabbed her arm and broke it. And then charged her for getting away with police duty. So that's not an isolated case. I called the police because my car got vandalized. I said, look, the young lady just broke my car. Police started laughing and said, well, And I said, well, what? And I ain't gonna lie, I started cussing. Holy got upset with me, took my car, and I said, why? Well, we taking it for, scene, in an incident that occurred with it, with the car being up the street. I just got my car taken. I mean, just different things like that. It's not isolated. The only thing is isolated that, and I keep on, don't like to make a black and white thing. White people can't see what black people see. And the reason I say that, I have 8 grandkids that's mixed. And I protect my mixed kids just like I protect the rest of my grandkids. So I'm not prejudiced. I'm just keeping it real. You don't see what we see. And the people that don't see what we see are always the one. They're always trying to tell us we just overreacting. Or we seeing what we want to see. Or just all in our head, they just don't see it. So for your smirk, I'm going to tell you something. If I broke in your house right now and slapped your wife, and choke your child, and come back and say, you robbed me, that's why I did it, I want to see that smirk and say, I want to see that smirk. Because I don't think you would have that same attitude that we have and if it happened to you. For real. So that's what I'm trying to say, is people don't take us serious until it happened to them. And then it's too late. When they go into and shoot up a school and a lot of white kids get hurt, you know what they say? These kids need treatment. They're going to need counseling for the rest of their life. Soon as anything to do with black, anything, you'll say, well, maybe they brought it on themselves. Maybe it's something they did a long time ago that brought them to do. Come on now. When we going to stop with that? Come on now. Enough is enough.
I got my glasses now, so I'm going to be able to see my note. First, I want to start off in saying, Ms. Reed, we got a lot of respect for you, but that young man that you were referring to, 9-year-old, 13-year-old, that killed his parents? 9-year-old. I thought he was 9. Yeah. Well, what I'm trying to explain to you is this, the difference between what happened with him and what happened with Devion. Devion is still locked up in the juvenile facility. That young man killed his parents, and he is in the hospital. Devion asked to go to the hospital. Why he ain't in the hospital? Okay, now, another thing. Prosecutor Gilbert, I wish he was here, because he said the reason why he didn't charge Officer Collins was because he violated policy and not the law. Chief Skip stated that the department does not tolerate excess use of force. That's what he did. That's exactly what he did to Devion. He used excessive force, and that's a crime. Not only that, I worked for the juvenile facility. We was trained, it's called mock training. Mock training is trained to stabilize a person and take them down without yourself getting hurt or the individual. In the video, he didn't use any kind of training. Therefore, he stopped becoming a police officer. He was an individual beating on a mentally ill child, handcuffed and pepper sprayed. That's also against the law because I couldn't get away with it. Not only that, as far as the investigation concerned, and I hope counsel take this in consideration, even you, this is not something to play with. This is not going to stay in Albion. This is not staying in Michigan. I can guarantee you that. So right now what needs to happen is whoever does this investigation, they don't need to be affiliated with Calhoun County, period. That's the first step. As far as you're concerned, and you're wondering why we keep bringing your name up, it's because your demeanor. Okay. The same thing, what you doing and how you acting is the same thing that's going on in the White House right now. And all these police officers that's been getting away with what's going on, surely but surely, what's done in the dark is going to come to the light.
Councilmember Reed.
For all the people who misunderstood what I said that I did not agree with Davion being punched. I would never agree with a child being hit. I don't even agree now. When I was raised, we got whipping. But the thing of it is, there's
Point of
a difference
order.
between a whipping and a
Mayor,
beating.
point of order.
Councilmember Lawler.
This is council member comments and,
This is public comment.
I mean, public,
We'll
I'm
finish.
sorry, public
Are there
comment.
further public comments?
People, my name is Bill Beck, and they also call me Mr. Green. But I believe democracy in the United States is a way of life. Politics is fictitious, 90% of it. You, sir, I'm not picking on you, but there's people listening. There's always someone listening and making determinations. And I notice the way you talk, your rhetoric is much, much different from your other council members. And I've been paying close attention to that. Maybe you can change that and become a regular council person dealing with things that's supposed to be dealt with, and your conversations be a little bit different. Because take a person like me. I didn't go to school with 2 days. The first day it rained, the next day the teacher wasn't there. So there's some dumb nights. A man said on television just most recently, the most successful people in this country are B&C graduates. That's amazing. Business people, wives. That's what I'm talking about, business wives. They are more successful than the average person. And you got plenty of A students, I believe so. You might be one, or was one. But be a little different. Talk along with the council people. Mr. Mayor, you maybe you made to make a revolutionary change also. There's some things that people is listening to you, and they notice your conversations and how you word it. Thank you.
Serena Smith, one question. It's 4 videos, right? Has the public seen them yet? Because it was on Facebook that the public seen 4 videos. Thank you.
Are there any further public comments? Council member comments. Okay, we have a motion to adjourn.
Second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.